Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth here. So I wanted to do this video in regards to the snowball effect, how it takes 21 days to build a habit and more. So research and psychologists have long studied the human brain over the last 100 years. Obviously things a lot of times started off with Freud, and throughout the time of the evolution of humans and consumerism, they've really started to understand consumer behavior or just human behavior in many different ways and realms. You have human behavior in the terms of health choices and health practices. You also have human behavior in terms of morality, why they choose certain types of products. The human mind and the human brain is quite fascinating. And as much as we know today, we still have a lot to learn. But researchers and psychologists have long known that it takes 21 days to build a habit. So, based on former research, they thought that maybe this 21 days was kind of a myth. So, according to Philippa Lally, a health psychology research at the University College in London, said that a new habit usually takes a little more than 2 months, around 66 days to be exact, and as much as 254 days until it's fully formed. So that study was looked at 96 participants who were asked to pick a habit and practice it for 12 weeks. So regardless of whether it's exactly 21 days or exactly 66 days, generally within that 3-week time period, you tend to see some effects of certain things that you've chosen. So for example, if you start exercising, you can definitely tell within 3 to 4 weeks that your mood is better, your sleep might improve, you feel more energetic, you just feel more vibrant about yourself and about life. There are certain things that you do notice within a 21-day time period, though it might take a little bit longer to fully develop 100%. So why is this important? The reason why I labeled this video as the snowball effect is because the snowball can manifest into something bigger on either end of the spectrum. For example, with everything shut down during coronavirus, most people became very sedentary. The gyms closed, things weren't open at the beginning. You technically weren't even really allowed to use the parks. At least in Washington state. So everything became shut down to where we were shut indoors and we were not able to move. So during that time, it was very easy for people to develop the habit of what it feels like to be sedentary, to not move, and generally when you don't feel good and or you don't, you're not moving as much, you kind of want comfort food to cope your emotional state. And a lot of that emotional state throughout this time has been anxiety and depression. The other end of the spectrum, like the example I shared earlier, is if you developed, say, a fitness plan or you just dedicated several days a week to start moving, whether that's walking, going to the gym, and you actually start to see this snowball effect go into your life. Like, wow, I really enjoy this. I really do enjoy that 1-hour break at lunch of walking along the riverside. That really sets up the rest of my afternoon to feel really good about myself and about my job and about life. And so as that manifests, maybe it starts at 1 day a week, and then the person gradually does it 3 days a week, and then it becomes that habit to where they do it every day or most days that they can. So the snowball can affect you in positive or negative ways. It's the same thing like drugs and alcohol. You get a taste of it, you get a taste of that high or that buzz, and then eventually you want more and your body copes with the amount of substance that you inject or ingest into your system. And then eventually the body is going to need more and more and more. And so they are snowballing themselves, obviously, in a very negative cycle. So this is really important because if you, depending on where you live, and even with, say, the president and some of the Senate has come down with coronavirus, it almost seems like we're not really going to get out of this cycle. Living here in Seattle and Washington State, things are still shut down, but not entirely as bad as what it was 4 or 5 months ago, but it's still tighter restrictions than many other states. And as we've transitioned into, let's see, I think things for me, like work-wise, started really shutting down March 7th. So let's just say we're going in October 7th. So April, May, June, July, September, October. So we're pretty much going into about a half a year into that 7th month, 6 to 7 month marker. And if you can see the snowball effect is that there are ramifications that we humans are being developed during this time, or these behaviors that we're starting to learn that are completely against the grain of natural law or just being human in general. People have lost friends and connections and whatever over not wanting to wear a mask. There is that judgment there for people's right to choose whether or not they want to do that or not. But what's really interesting, I noticed this about 6 weeks ago, was that a woman actually started talking to me in line at the grocery store. And I was kind of like taken aback, and I looked around and I'm like, what is this woman doing? And I realized over these last 4 to 6 months, we've further been developed to become more cold and detached. We already live in a society. America is a mentally sick society where narcissism, psychopathy, and sociopathy are a lot of the underlying issues of today. Narcissism is running rampant in America because we are such a technology, social media-induced culture. This was very different when I lived in Germany, where people were living their lives, and even 26-year-olds were like, I don't understand Twitter. Like, why would you do that? To them, it made no logical sense on their privacy, but also like, who cares? Why do it? And those were the young people. They were 26-year-olds. Where here it's like you have Snapchat and Vine and all these things. Every 26-year-old probably has like 17 apps where they can share about how awesome their life is, and that breeds narcissistic behaviors. There are like 4 levels of narcissism. Not every narcissist is, demonic or very dark energy, but like Don Juan, that guy is a form of narcissism, because that guy thinks he's hot shit and better than everybody else. So society right now is losing a lot of that spiritual grain. In order for a seed to grow in the earth, it's in the dark, but the light from the sun keeps the soil warm. And that warm allows the seed to germinate to eventually grow into a plant and blossom into a flower. And so with having masks on, having to socially distance ourselves, we are further creating our existence to be very robotic, to be cold and detached, to be socially distant, to be afraid of other people, to not want to go around them. And I know that when we're dealing with an infectious virus, you have to have these measures in place in order for the virus to not spread. I work at a retirement home. I've seen how people have tested positive. If they are wearing their PPE correctly, it is not spreading into people's rooms or to other staff members. So there is a spiritual underlining consequence to what's happening. So if you're aware of the snowball effect, you can start to remove yourself from being, hey, I don't want to be cold and detached. I don't want to be distant. And it will allow you to gain that other side of the spectrum of the snowball to increase your maybe social skills, or to maybe realize that you do want to date and things like that. Obviously, it's all happening virtually. Not a whole lot of things are happening online. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say that, because I just saw some friends get married in Ohio, and I'm like, holy crap, they can have weddings? Like, people can't get married here. I just saw some other friends, or just people I know in Seattle, they finally eloped. They're like, I can't deal with this. Like, we were supposed to get married 4 months ago. They just went to the court and put the rings on. So I hope that this gives you some insight to understand the snowball effect. It can help you in a positive way, or it can hinder you in a negative way. And so everything that's happening right now is a lot of negative, I would say, a consequence to humans and health in general. Breathing into a mask is not healthy long term for your respiratory and circulatory system. Being socially distant is not good to building support systems and to build trust and social skills. Being stuck at home is not good for your mental health because you have no contact with the outside world, that you're just, listening and communing with people online or your coworkers online. And that isolation and depression leads into other issues. How do you cope with your mental health? Do you drink? Do you do drugs? Do you run out and get fast food? So I hope this sheds some light to wherever you're at in your path or your journey. So if you are in like a stuck place, or you feel like it's not that positive of a time period for you, try to put the snowball from one end of the spectrum to the other. This couples a little bit on the mental health video that I talked about, I think like a year and a half ago at this point, which was called The Wolves Inside Your Head. So there was an old Native American saying that basically white wolves and black wolves live inside your head. So which one do you choose to feed? You can continue to feed the negativity in your mind, or you can continue to try to feed the mind more positive things. So that's a snowball effect. The more negative you are, the more negative things will come about in your life or in your well-being. These are some thoughts that I have. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and see you next time. Bye-bye.